Welcome to the Paint with me. So we will be painting this one, and it's going to be a tutorial from start to finish with sketching, every layer, etc. And we only use a basic set of watercolors for that. So everyone's welcome to paint along. So what you need is a pad of paper. Mine is not A4. It's slightly smaller, but I don't know what size it is. It's 18 by 26 centimeters, and it's cotton watercolor paper. You don't need cotton though. I think the techniques should work on wood pulp as well too. A set of watercolors. It doesn't matter what set you use. With a standard collection, we will use mostly ultramarine, light ochre, English red, or burnt sienna and burnt umber. And the bright red, like cadmium red in this case, or a different bright red. I've got cotton 12 by 18. That totally works. Just scale it down. You will need slightly smaller brushes for that, but that's fine. And yeah, as you can see, we don't need many colors. A red, a blue, and 3 browns. This is what we need. If you have French ultramarine, that's totally perfect because it will granulate even better and nicer in the sky area. Granulation is something we play with. This is a student grade set because I actually make my tutorials with student grade sets because I feel they're easier to achieve, but if you have professional paints, use those. So, okay. You will need a pencil and an eraser. You've got French ultramarine, burnt cyan, and Van Dyke brown. Should be good. Yeah, Van Dyke brown, you can use it instead of the burnt umber. Do you have yellow ochre? And something like a bright red. A pencil and an eraser. You will need those. And just brushes. I used the big one for the first few steps because it's big enough. Bright red, yes, awesome. Nope, no yellow ochre. So yeah, that's fine. You can substitute yellow ochre by mixing your cool yellow with a little bit of Van Dyke brown. It'll give a similar look. So just random brushes. Bigger ones are really nice for the background because it's easier to apply than water and stuff. So mixing space, it doesn't have to be extra, you can mix on your palette. Water and paper towels that I've already used for other brushes, but yours can be clean. I don't mind that. Sorry. Okay. This is all we need. We don't need white, but it can be tricky. Like areas like this one can be super tricky to leave white. So if you have one for the final details, that would be cool. But you don't need it, actually. Let's start. I will show you. This is the reference I'm using. I have posted it on Discord as well. So you can use this to draw. Or I have also a line art prepared that everyone can use to draw. And it's pretty simple. I put the lighthouse about in the middle of the paper. If more are painting along, let me know, because I'm curious. And we also can nerd around about pigments once the layers are drying, because there will be a little drying time. It helps to remember that these lines are actually straight. So it's not rounded as the eye would tell us to. Sorry if I'm quiet. I add the windows too, here on the top, so I know where they are. And the ones in this white area. Lighthouses are so fun. There are actually people living there, but they are super loud. I once was hiking in Spain, and I could hear the lighthouse from a different city, about 20 kilometers of I could hear it. And when I got close, it was only louder and louder. So I knew where I was going. That was super fascinating, actually. Like you knew of your destination because you got closer and closer. And it wasn't like the sound or the smell of the ocean or anything. It was the terror of the lighthouse. For the stones, I give them like I make big shapes for them and just put there whatever I see, like the big gaps in between them. And especially in the front, there are two stones that are kind of shaping this whole pile, I feel. These two. And then I put the others on top. Stones aren't all round. Some are edgy, some are smooth, some are rounded. It's fine. Just paint however you feel it. Howdy. Hope it's been a great day. It's been a weird day. Hey, box of paint. How are you? Do you want to paint with us? We just started sketching. Everyone's welcome to paint with us. It's a rainy day today, but not as stormy as yesterday. That was weird. Hello, Yuki. Welcome. Hope you're good. Everyone's welcome to paint with us today. This is a live tutorial section. Session. My God. I'm bad at talking, but I promise the result will be good. I can show you, actually. Give me a second. Once you're done with the drawing, we will dab some of it away with the kneaded eraser, so it doesn't show as much. If I can open it. And it helps to just dab it a little bit, so the lines aren't too dark, but you will still be able to see them under your painting. They can be a little bit darker in the stones because the painting layer will be a little bit thicker. But for the lighthouse, we will paint very light shades. Can you see it? So for myself, I would dab a little bit more away, especially in the lighthouse area. But for the sake of the tutorial, I want to keep some so you can see what I'm doing. I will also remove the line art now. And now we're going to do something beautiful. Paint the sky wet and wet. Use the biggest, well, I want to say the biggest brush you have on hand, but it could be a huge brush, realistically. But use a brush that would be easy to use. Hey Diana, welcome. That would be easy to cover all of the background. I'm using, here's the fun. Yeah, painting is always the fun part. Like drawing is the preparation. It can be fun. You just got the fun parts, yeah. How's the paint along going for everyone? Yeah, we just started. I hope it's going okay. So use the size 4 quill, use the biggest round brush you have, whatever, and pre-wet the area of the sky only with clean water. Do not go over the rocks and not over the lighthouse itself. So be careful, please. I mean, it's fixable, but actually in watercolors almost everything is fixable. I like to use quill brushes because even with the bigger ones I can get into the tiny detailed areas very nicely. And I'm pretty careful around the edges here. How was your day, Diana? Did you do something amazing? Like this. If you're not sure if you pre-wetted the area, you can look from an angle and you will see the water reflecting, and you will see where you're good and where the paper is still dry. Experience the highs and lows of pigment searching. Oh no, what happened? Did you find your Perlin Violet? Or was it PO71? And worked in comic inking. Awesome. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, Pure 71. Yeah, I've seen it. I'm so sorry. Okay. I've pre-wetted the sky area. Hope you did too. And then I actually use the same big brush to pick up ultramarine blue. I'll get the My Merry Orange and the Jackson's Overture. Yeah, My Merry Blue is a good brand. I think Sign recommended it. Yeah, My Merry Blue is really nice. So, ultramarine. If you have French ultramarine, that would be super nice for granulation. And burnt umber, or whatever you have in the same spot as burnt umber, and mix them together. Sign has sometimes the great finds, like in her little shop that's in the middle of nowhere or so, and has old stock of everything, it seems. So when you have a nice dark gray in your palette, like here, you can go from the edges, spreading it down evenly. Well, not evenly, but in slightly swooshing movements. Leave some white. It spreads slightly. You have soft edges. You can add a little bit of water in some cases to have a lighter color. In some places. Here I just dab it. It will spread nicely enough. Pick up more. Go in the edges again. I can add a little bit more ultramarine for a little bit of a more bluish look in some areas. I like to add some along the stones, the rocks here. And here as well. Maybe even darker ones. I've washed out the brush a little bit to have less pigment on it. And I think I want to add like super intense color. Just in the edges, like just a tiny bit. You can already see the separation here of both pigments. And I feel like it adds to the storminess of the sky. If you have pools of water, like I do here, just use a paper towel or like the kitchen towels, paper tissues, and then hold the edge lightly to this pool of water and pull suck it up. You can see it here. We'll remove the water. and help to dry it more evenly, I will do it on the borders too. I feel like this one needs a little bit more or less water. And here I will spread it further because I want it to have like a dry edge, so you can cover it up by just using a damp brush and slightly damp it. So how's it going with your sky, everyone? Also, if you're told do not mess with wet on wet, I mean, you can a little bit, but you need to do so carefully. But I want here to be a little bit more of something. This. Not too bad. Should have wetted more at the start. I'm a stranger to wet on wet. Yeah, but it's such a good technique to make a stormy sky. Pretty sky, thank you. For me, this is the simplest technique I know to create like a stormy sky that looks convincing enough, but is also nice and loose and has a nice separation, even like from student. I mean, this is a student grade set of paints. If you use professional paints with ultramarine, it will separate a little bit more, but you get a nice depth to it, and it's really, really nice. This is the original. Looks similar, a little bit different. Because it's wet on wet, it will run differently a little bit. It separates also slightly. You can see it already into brown areas and more bluish areas, which it did here too. But I feel like it adds to this feeling of stormy, you know? And we will use similar effects to paint the rocks, to give the rocks some texture. Yeah, if you haven't painted wet on wet before, it can be tricky, I feel. Maybe, but it's actually not. Also, the student grade sets often have gonna be a long dry. No, it's okay. Actually, no, not that long. A few minutes. So we can chat and be nerdy. We have a pretty humid day today too, so it's maybe not perfect, but it will be okay. We technically could paint on and just be super careful at the borders to not touch. That would work. But what I wanted to say before is, I forgot. Oh, the student grade sets actually have no flowing agent added, so they're a little bit easier to control wet on wet. And you have the same with, especially with professional brands like Holbein, but other brands have flowing agent like Oxgal or something, and then they will swoosh across the paper. But it also depends pigment to pigment how much they actually flow, because some pigments are heavier and will not flow as long, like as far, than other pigments. So I feel this technique, especially with ultramarine and burnt umber, usually works nicely. For me, I got this because the top of the palette was like the lid, not the lid, but this mixing thing of the palette was on the paper when it dried, and where I touched, the paint puddled. And whether they cauliflower easier too. With professional brands, I think the cauliflowering is what we have removed by dabbing away the puddles. If you leave the puddles, they will cauliflower. The cauliflowering comes from different amounts of water and consistencies of water on your page. So if you have a puddle and the area next to it dries faster, the water from the puddle will seep into this area. And yeah, that's true. Some pigments cauliflower more than others. That's true. But if you dab it away and it dries somewhat even, it really will be okay. You can keep it, let it dry a little bit more even, but I actually want to go on. You can see it's still a little bit wet, but not too bad. Also, I will be very careful to not touch the wet area when I paint the stones, the rocks. I will also pre-wet them, not touching the sky area. It's tricky, I know. Just don't touch it. Leave like a tiny, tiny bit. The stones, the rocks, will also get a texture. Almost touched it here. No, I touched it. You can see, because I touched it, the sky is now leaking into the rocks. That's fine. It will actually be worse when I okay, oh, I did it here too. When this happens, you dab it away on the rock area, not the sky area, and remove the water there. This will create a new border between the two sections, and you can pre-wet up to this point again. And we'll be okay. You can also go like super loose and just let it bleed everywhere. That's your choice. Okay, next I will use some yellow ochre. If you don't have yellow ochre, you can use your warm yellow best with a little bit of like burnt umber or Van Dyke brown. Mix it in your palette, and then I like to apply it to the stones that I feel are the lightest, most yellowish and sunlit. This can spread. I'm not worrying about this. As long as I'm also not super precise, as you can see. I had some here. I can see some warmth here. I can see a lot of warmth here actually. This is like directly out of the pan. Right? And yellow ochre has some texture already. I'm painting looser than our friends on Discord. which I admire, by the way. Next I use, this is English red. Actually, it's more granulating, but you can use burnt sienna in the step 2. And I add it where I see the redness. Of the stones, which is in some places. This might look wild, but I promise in the end it's going to be okay. Maybe it's more a practice of loose painting than the subject itself. So next time we're going to be less loose and paint a frog. By the way, I have planned it all out. I actually planned the subjects for the next few months. If you're curious, I can let you know. Let's add some red to these stones here. Water. And next I will use a burnt umber or Van Dyke brown, the darkest brown you have in your palette, and we'll put it where I see the darkest areas. Don't be afraid, let it mix on paper, let it run. Have the soft edges between the stones, that's totally fine. And because all of these colors are granulating, you will get a nice stone texture. I actually like to give like a light coat, even on the lighter stones here. Like towards the bottom area. I dabbed some in the sky, but the sky is dry enough now. See, you don't need like hours to let it dry. We're good already. And because the underpainting is so different, some are red, some are yellow, the burnt umber on top looks different too. I will have some darkish areas here. This side of the rock. Oh, hello! Welcome! Yes, Lighthouse Kaiser. Thanks for the follow, Simsalabin. Yo, Lana. Hey, Absinthe. How are you? What amazing things did you paint today? Also, heads up, this is probably be in the video on YouTube that I will tell you hi and that you've been here. I'm painting a live tutorial and I will edit it into a video for YouTube. Just so you know. For the YouTubers, Absinthe on Twitch, this amazing streamer. Paints in watercolors. Go visit him. I painted some green cyber lady that has a face arrow. Oh no, what? I had a very nice stream, thank you. Awesome. It's because you're amazing. By the way, if it's puddling, remove some of the water again. This is for the ones. The chat is a little bit quiet today because I think many are painting along. So but while this dries, we can chat. Okay, I need to go back to the tutorial. So we will use the same gray mix we used for the sky, but water it down and add a little bit of brown, like of the burnt umber, to warm it up a little bit. And we need to lighten it up a lot, like a lot. It needs to be very watery. So if you spread it on your palette, it needs to be like this, okay? And then you apply it underneath this platform, but leave a little, wait, I need to zoom in. Give me a second. So, right here. You see, leave a little strip of white towards the pencil line here, so it doesn't touch. It will be the line that is kept white here, because it's not gel pen or anything. This is negative painting actually. If you mess this up, you can add the white on top, but I just prefer to leave it white. Okay. People who do great stuff deserve the support, really. And then drag the color out, down. You can go over the windows, that's fine. Clean the brush, like dip it in water, dab it a little bit on a paper towel, and then drag the color out a little bit. I'll pick up a little bit more paint because I want it to be a little bit darker. I still leave whites, as you can see, in some of the areas. I will pick up a little bit more paint and then follow like just these lines a little bit here and drag just a tiny bit up. It will separate the lighthouse nicely. And then do the same to the space here. And here I too will leave some white, because I just want the look of this clean white to be there. This was almost too dark. The paint on your brush is mostly water. It's not even like paint. I pick it up only with the tip of the brush. Like this is how I pick up the paint. And it's also very, very watered down. So we don't go too dark immediately. Then I will add some of it on this side house here. And also leaving some white towards the roof. I go a little bit over the door, but not too much. I actually want this side a little bit darker. And that's how I'll leave it. We can use the same paint again here in the windows. It's a little bit darker now, doesn't really matter. But just in the windows. And when I'm done, I will answer Nugget's question about pixel fed. Sorry, I need to concentrate. So for the next step, we will mix even more intense ultramarine and burnt umber. I think it's the only colors I use. Those are the two that have, oh my god, you need to see it. Like, this is ultramarine and this is burnt umber, and they have like the huge dents, and everything else is like new. What color do you do you paint with? I only need two. Is TikTok popular in Germany? Yes, but it depends on what generation you are. Like with my generation, it's not that popular. For a younger generation, it's more popular. But also, I'm an older generation, I feel. So I have a pretty intense mix now here, and it's leaning a little bit more towards brown than blue. I'm loving all the granulation hammer in the painting so far. I do too. Oh, by the way, this is the how it will look when it's done. I'm prepared. The step-by-step tutorial is pinned in the chat. So, and with this mix, we will go where you can see the pencil lines. And sometimes, in some cases, you can drag it out a little bit. I want to add a little bit more burnt umber. I want it to be a little bit brownish, more brownish. And if you drag it out towards the top and not the bottom. You can water it down a little bit. It will be fine. So you go and then drag it out towards the top. And in some cases, I add just some clean water, so it flows a little bit towards the top. But just to have like this little bit of softness in some cases. And never drag it down, because so how it works, we keep the light areas on the top and the shadow areas of the bottom of the stones. And that's why this technique will work. Do you know where this photo is from? I have a sketch just like that. It's from Pixabay. I linked it on my blog. And I linked it on Discord too. When I saw this, I've actually painted it a few times before. When I saw this, I loved it immediately. And I wanted to paint it. And then when I was thinking, okay, what to paint? And I was like, okay, we can paint a lighthouse. That would be cool. I was like, okay, I want to make this into a tutorial. And I do it with all of the stones, just going slowly. Then just pause over my foot. I feel like it's Peggy Cole. Oh my god, it could be. The written tutorial, it's linked, like it's the pinned message in the chat. You can go and check. Maybe there's something, wait, I can link the original photo. It's this one. Oh, it says St. Margaret's Bay, Peggy's Cove. Oh, you've seen it correctly. Yes. You should do like the things where people guess, like geoguessing stuff. where if colors touch or flow, we will enhance the look of these separations. The Canadian in me can spot the landmark anywhere. Ah. On this stone, I add a little bit towards the bottom and then drag it out with a lot of water. Just to give it a little bit of shading. And we have a nice separation granulation here in the shadows too, which I really, really like, enjoy. It's a pretty famous lighthouse. I should label it like this. Have you been there? Should I visit it when I go there? If I go there? I don't plan. I have no travels planned. It sounded like I'm about to go. But one time I want to go to Canada. There will be a time in my life. And when I go, I will visit all of my Canadian friends and make a tour, and we will go painting together. We will eat cake and paint and drink tea. Yes, that's my big plan. And I also want to go to UK and make a tour and visit all of my UK friends and drink tea and paint together, because everywhere I go I want to drink tea and paint with people. So that's my big plan. I don't want anything else, honestly. Maybe shop art supplies. I really want to visit the UK someday. Yeah, I do too. Also Scotland. I swear. When I visit Scotland, I go and visit Otto too. She promised me to go to a garlic place, so I'll go and eat garlic. When I was in Dublin, UK was on my list, but weather was bad. Oh no, yeah, I will bring an umbrella and we will paint in the rain. That's fine. But you should know that Canada is huge. Some places in Europe are closer to me than some parts of Canada. Yeah, but I think I will make a tour of like where my friends live. It's not like I'm having people. I do not own people. Disclaimer. Like, weather was not bad for us since it was barely snowing, but everything was like closed. Oh no! Why would they close places? Yeah, I mean, I think if I go meet people there, even if places are closed, I can still maybe meet with people for tea. So I'm dabbing a little bit into the darkest areas. It's all the same mix. If it flows, it flows. I don't mind that. I'm also adding a little bit of texture here. And I will soften up a bit of this. Like that. And I'll let it dry. Also, when I paint for myself, I also like jump from area to area. So I can, for example, let this area dry, paint this area, and then let this area dry and paint this area. We visit the cemetery, Botanic Gardens that day. Oh my god, this is such a good place to draw too. I've seen such beautiful drawings of cemetery. Really. We can draw and paint everything, right? I also really like how the texture of the stones looks already. I like this reddish brown. English red gives it this nice warm glow, and I think it's really pretty against like the stormy sky. This is a nice contrast of warm and cool colors. Also, so far I've only been using pretty big brushes, but I will use a smaller one now for the next step. Let me know when we can go on. I'll give you a little bit, a few minutes. But yeah, I have many places to travel to. All good here, awesome. I have many plans. But I will not do those long journeys as long as I have Dante. First of all, because I don't like to leave him alone for long. And second of all, because I cannot justify to put him in a box on a plane all alone. Because he will panic without me. Because he panics a lot without me. Even not on a plane. And I don't want to have that, and I also don't want to leave him alone. So we only have journeys where Dante can come along, and most of them are by car, which is fine for us right now. We're just happy to have him. So for the next step, we will paint at the top of the lighthouse. So make sure that your windows here and the sky are dry. And we will drop everything we own first, but then we will use the bright red on your palette. This is a cadmium red hue. It's not cadmium red, but if you have, you can use cadmium red. This is PR 255, which actually doesn't matter. Just use the bright red you have. This is the mix from my last time. I used it here. Mix the cadmium red here. Why it's so relatable. Let everything drop first. Well, that's just how life is. It's part of the tutorial. Everyone has to follow. And we will use a little bit of the burnt umber or Van Dyke brown or whatever you have, the dark brown you have. Just a teeny bit, tiny bit. Tiny bit more. Just to mute it down a little bit, because we don't need the bright red as bright red, because it's not natural. Things are withered down. The Canadians have to repaint it first before it's bright red again. But so far, we're going to paint it with a slightly muted red. Okay? It's very pretty, actually. Yeah, sorry. Now that I know. And once it's repainted, we can fix the painting. That's fine. Sorry. I don't intend to be mean to the Canadians. They're nice people. I don't even need instructions for it. I'm a master already. Oh. Maybe I can teach you something else then. I don't know. And use a brush that you're comfortable with, so painting thinner lines too. If you need, take a smaller one than I do. And then again, first of all, leave the white towards the gray area on the bottom. And that way we don't need Posca pens, white gel pens, gouache or anything to create this white line. We have just left it white from the paper. You know, thinking ahead. And then just fill in nice saturated red this whole section. Be careful to not paint over the windows too much. I'd rather leave like a tiny bit white. Yeah, it's definitely not fire engine red. It's a little brighter in person. Yeah, and I think it needs to be muted down a little bit, but it's still a good red. Like it's not like brown we're painting. It's a good red, and our brain reads it as the weathered down fire engine red or so. Not the poppy red. It's a beautiful red though. That's some yummy red. Makes me wanna go make toast. Oh, what would you make your toast with? For me, it's like a good tomato red even. I've already learned a lot from you, I'm not sure. I'm sure more will follow. You paint amazing! What? I don't know. I just paint. I don't know what I'm doing. That's really bad to say while doing a tutorial, but yeah, I totally know what I'm doing. Because of course I painted before and I prepared it. I did it already. Of course I know what I'm doing. Oh, strawberry jam toast. Oh, nice. Very, very nice. And I like to leave this line white, but you can actually paint over it if you like. For me, it's just easier for the next steps. I'm not making rules for anyone. I may use white gel pen later for some reflection in these windows. Yeah, totally fair. I will actually... these windows are not done yet. Like the little antenna thingy. Looks like it has a hat. So I use a smaller brush. You can use a slightly bigger brush, that's fine. And a very intense mix of the black, so to say. And I will go just over the deepest areas of the shadows. Don't go over the light areas. It's basically just to enhance the areas like the deep, is it groves between the stones to separate them. I think I've had one around here. You can drag it out somewhere, like in some places a little bit. Especially when the lines meet, you can enhance the depth a little bit, like I did here. This was not on purpose. if you do this, just dab it away. It will be a light speck on the paper, but that's fine. I will wash out some of it towards the border here to pretend it's a shadow. And then just follow just the border of the rocks, basically. I want to call it stones, but it's rocks, right? Rocks are the bigger ones. Of course, here. This is one rock with sharp edges, so I kind of enhanced the edges a little bit with a broken line. In the end, it's all about creating a certain look. Boulder works too. What's the difference to boulder? Boulder sounds so small and cute. You can use some dry brushing. I used it some here. But as you can see, I'm not adding a lot here, but it looks already like a sharp edge on this stone. And I want to add more to the side here, just as I did here, just to add a little bit more shadow in the corners of the painting. It's not about the stone texture or anything, just to create this effect. And I will use some of it to create those lines, like the not cuts, but the uneven areas, like in the stones, where the split is and stuff. I can add a little bit of texture in addition. And then the monkeys will hopefully recognize all of the rocks too. Okay. See, the rocks are looking a little bit better right now. Was it? But before we do that, we will go on with the tutorial. And I will use more of this beautiful gray mixture we have and hopefully enjoy and love for all eternity. Because it's the only color we will go on paint. I will add a little bit more to the shadow area here. I like to kind of put it on the border here, still leaving the white. And sometimes I go like with a slanted brush. Also, with a slanted brush, like if you go on an angle, if you have most of the paint on your tip and push down and drag it, you will have a nice variation color, with one side being a little bit darker and the rest being a little bit lighter. And then I will drag it down a tiny bit, not too much. I hope it's okay that I explain techniques here, because I feel like in a tutorial I should, so everyone can follow along and paint with me. I think I need to hit the bed. Good night, Cyan. Thanks for being here. Sweet dreams. And especially I drag it down along these sections, because it's not perfectly round. We can show it, right? It's very light color I have here. And I enhance some of these areas. Not the creases, but also not the folds, but the sides of the Lighthouse. It's almost too dark. That's fine. I will pick up some more intense color and drag it down here along the side house and drag it out like this. I like it to be a clean line, so it looks super nice and sharp. Like a nice shadow. And put just a line here on the side. This way the whole lighthouse comes forward, I feel, and this little side house with the entry is pushed back a little bit. You get a little bit the feeling of dimension. I use a little bit of the more intense mix to give the windows a little bit of texture. So I paint not white reflections in them, but I paint shadows of like something that might be inside. It doesn't have to be consistent, it's just like little hints. I'm fairly happy with how mine's going. There's cauliflowering in the sky, but I don't want to waste cotton. Trying again until a new project. Yeah, don't. It's okay. If you have cauliflowering, you probably... Okay. What I mentioned in the beginning, that if you have pools of water collecting somewhere, use a paper towel. Mine are looking dirty now, but use a little bit of paper towel to pick it up. Because if you leave the pools and they're drying, they will seep back into your painting, because they dry slower than the other areas, and they cause more cauliflowering. That way you can also avoid cauliflowering on wood pulp paper, which can be more tricky to avoid, but just avoid the puddles. If it's puddling, that's fine. Just pick it up and pick the water up with a paper towel. It will be sucked into it. Very careful, just touch it with a little edge and it will be okay. For next time. I also had some cauliflowering, which I left on purpose last time here for the stones. But in the stones I knew it will give it a little bit of texture, and that's fine. Yeah, pools. Do you see any? I think I tried to touch up by adding slightly different tone. Yeah. That's how you... Yeah, that's also how you add... Because the water consistency is different, and it will always try to level itself out. If one area is slightly wet and the other is very wet, it will try to level itself out. And with the flow of the water, the pigments are dragged with it, and that's how it causes cauliflowering. It's also super difficult. These touch-ups are super difficult. I sometimes try to fix those things by layering. So I would let it rather dry how it is, like with the errors, and then re-wet it all again, and then layer it, adding the color where I want it to be. That way I get another even layer on top and not the risk of cauliflowering. So, and because I have all these wonderful chats in between, the paints are drying super quickly. At least I feel like it, because our shadows have dried yet. So, for those who are painting with me, we're going on now. And I'm still using this wonderful mix of ultramarine and burnt umber because this is what I love. This is what we're going to use. You don't need other colors. I actually, let's go. Yeah. I actually don't ever have blacks in my palette because I always mix it and it works just fine. I have a more intense mix now on my brush, and we will go in and fill this little gap here to create the shadow underneath. So if you've painted over it before, that's fine. It will not be bad. You can just layer it on top, and you will have a little bit of shadow. I also add a little bit of shadow underneath here. This kind of, I don't know what it is even. Wait, I will zoom in so you can actually see. Like maybe have, I also give the windows like a little bit of a frame, but not too detailed. It's not like a line around all of it. I actually think that these kind of co-streams could be like a fun podcast even, where you record it, where you have like an interview and both are painting. I think this could be like super fun. Nerd around, maybe talk about favorite approaches or favorite palettes or something. Like, I will enhance, by the way, the next step. I chat so much that all the paint dries instantly. I will enhance the shadows underneath here a little bit. Just at the very top, underneath this platform, where it's darkest, I will drag it out just on this side a tiny bit. Just with the tip of the brush. Don't push down. Kuchen saved. Oh my god. Yes. It will be a good Kuchen. But it's pretty late for a Kuchen. It's almost 10 p.m. It's a late night Kuchen. Because we sometimes need the cake at night. That's fine. With the same mix, I will also paint in the windows. Super simple. And I will also do actually a watered down line of this. Slightly watered down for the little roofs. But only on the lower two. And then a dark-ish line again around here. And again, I'm not pressing down or anything. It's very light. Everything is just like just slightly touching the tip of the brush to the paper. Like this. To give it a little more interest. To separate a little bit visually. It's not a real line. Like, it kind of is, but it's not. It's not. Do not drag it through, because we just need to hint at it. We need just a little bit. And I will enhance the shadow here a tiny bit. And with a clean brush, I will drag it out slightly. Here. But with a more intense color, I will draw the shadow underneath the roof here. And just the hint of a line over the roof here. Just a hint of the line. Same around the door. As you can see, it's not a line I draw. It's just, if you can do this with a bigger brush, use the smaller brush. It's just the tip of the brush I use. Just the very tip of the brush. And along the side. And because this area on top has already dried. By the way, that's how I paint in real life. I just jump from area to area, depending on what is dry. Or the level of dryness I need to go on. And I will paint. I know they're white in real life, but they kind of look blackish. And I will paint the railing of this platform. And we'll try to do the lines parallel. Well, first of all, the vertical lines are on the little corners, and the others are parallel to the lines of the platform, like to the shape here we created. Again, just with the tip of the brush. Very careful. I will use a little bit of the darker, because this has dried now, and I will put a little bit underneath the slight triangles as a shadow. Now we're done. The details, people. Everything's in the details. And this is our finished result, our finished painting. I hope you had fun to paint with me. Let me know if you struggled, if you have questions, if you missed something with me. Next paint with me will be July 6th. So you don't miss it, at 7 p.m. German time during the normal stream. If nothing happens, no major life drama, I'm streaming regularly on Sunday. And I want to do a frog. On July we will do a frog, because, you know, time to do an animal again. If you like to have more tutorials, you're welcome to check my blog. There are more written tutorials. On my YouTube channel are more video tutorials. If you like to nerd around, join Discord. Hope to see you soon. Bye!